Hi everyone, it feels like a really cozy Sunday because it is a really cozy Sunday, so I thought I would sit down and film an extra video for you this week where I talk to you about the books I've bought recently and the books that I have been sent for review. I will list them in the description box down below if you missed any of the titles and would like to go and find out more. If you're watching this the day it's going up, I am attempting a ridiculous but hopefully fun reading challenge in September, and today on Sunday you can vote on how that reading challenge is going to how it's going to go, because there are several ways it could go, and you can vote on that over on my Instagram stories. So if you haven't already done that and you would like to, once you finish watching that video, head over to my Instagram, which I'll link in the description box down below, and I'll be making a video about that in the coming few days. So let me talk to you about these books. The first book that I bought is Ottessa Moshfegh's new book. She's the author of Eileen and My Year of Rest and Relaxation. In this, our protagonist is out walking her dog in the woods and she comes across a woman who I think has been murdered. There is a note, I believe, on her body, or at least something that shows that this woman is called Magda, and our protagonist becomes very obsessed with Magda and what may or may not have happened to her. She has recently moved to the area, our protagonist, and is already quite nervous and suspicious of the surrounding area, and obviously this does not help. This is one of my most anticipated releases, so I'm hoping it's going to be brilliant. Another of my most anticipated releases is this one here, which is coming out in about a week. This is D by Michel Faber. He has written lots of books before, but this is his first middle grade book. As you know, I adore The Book of Strange New Things and The Crimson Petal and the White and Under the Skin. This is about a young girl called Diccolo, and she comes from a country that I don't think exists, or at least people don't believe that it exists. And then one day the letter D goes missing from the alphabet and she has to go searching for it. This is an homage to Dickens. Now, we know I don't always love Dickens, but I do love Michel's writing, so I'm really hoping that I will love this too. Michel and I are hoping to record a video together some point soon, so if you have any questions for him, you can leave them in the comment section of this video, or I'll probably put a call out on Instagram nearer the time so that you can ask us questions, because it's been 5 years since we filmed a video together, which is a very long time. A review copy. This collection of poetry here by Rachel Long is called My Darling from the Lions. This is published by Picador and is currently shortlisted for the Forward Prize for Poetry. I'm making my way through that shortlist. It's a prize I always follow, so I'm keen to pick up that one soon. I bought this collection of stories, which is called Love in Colour by Babalola. This is a collection of myths from around the world retold, and I believe that, going by the title, that these are myths that are centred on love and relationships. It says, a high-born Nigerian goddess feels beaten down and unappreciated by her gregarious lover and longs to be truly seen. A young businesswoman attempts to make a great leap in her company and an even greater one in her love life. A powerful Ghanaian spokeswoman is forced to decide whether to uphold her family's politics or to be true to her heart. I, of course, bought Ali Smith's new novel, This Is Summer. It is the final book in her seasonal quartet. 5 years ago, Ali announced that she was going to write 4 books in very quick succession about current political times, but also obviously with layered storytelling as well. I don't think anyone could have predicted what was going to happen over the 5 years that she chose to chronicle the world. We have had Brexit in the UK, we have had the Trump administration, we've had more obviously going on with climate change, we have now had coronavirus, so it has been a fascinating series of books to follow and have brought immense comfort to me and to many other people. When autumn came out, I did an in-depth analysis of that book. The same with winter. When spring came out, I reviewed it over on Toast, so you can read my thoughts in that article, and I'll be reviewing this book on Toast next month too. So I'll be reading this very soon and I will talk to you about it. Earlier this month, I filmed a 24-hour reading vlog, and in that I read my first book by Hiromi Kawakami as part of Reading Women in Translation Month, and I mentioned in that video that I would like to read more of her work. So I have bought The 10 Loves of Mr. Nashimo. This is by Hiromi Kawakami. It's translated from the Japanese by Alison Markin Powell. This is about 10 women who have at one point in their lives been infatuated with this Mr. Nashimo. So we're looking at how their lives intertwine through this person. I also bought Record of a Night Too Brief. Is this translated by the same person? No, this is translated by Lucy North. And I think that this is 3 different stories. It says that a woman travels on an unending night with a porcelain girlfriend, monsters of the mist, and a monkey who show no mercy. A sister mourns her brother, visible only to her, while her family welcome his would-be wife into their home. And an incident in a park leads a shop girl to discover the snakes in intimate lives everywhere she turns. And in researching her backlist, I came across this anthology, which is published by Comma Press. It's a collection of stories centered around Tokyo by prominent Japanese writers, one of which is Hiromi Kawakami. We've also got a story in here by Banana Yoshimoto and 9 other writers. I think the blurb sounds brilliant. It says a shapeshifter arrives in Tokyo who wants to cause havoc. A young woman is walked home one night by a reclusive graduate student and then finds herself lured into an empty apartment full of eerie objects of Egyptian antiquity. A man suspects his young wife's obsession with picnicking every weekend in the city's parks hides a darker motive. I also bought this short story collection, which is called Attrib and Other Stories by Eley Williams. I loved her story in Outsiders, the anthology that I also read in the 24-hour reading vlog. I have a story in that anthology myself, and I fell in love with various other writers within that anthology and have since bought their books. It says that this is about the tricksiness of language just as it confronts its limits. The stories are littered with the physical ephemera of language, dictionaries, dog-eared pages, bookmarks, old coffee stains on older books. Speaking of writers in that anthology, this is a new literary journal published in Scotland that Heather Parry edits, and she very kindly sent me a review copy. It's called Extra Teeth, Words with Bite, and in here we have got stories and essays by Kirsty Logan, Jalis Galloway, and lots of other people. I'm expecting creepy, I'm expecting gory, and I am very, very excited about it. I don't feel like this book needs much explanation because it's mostly just in the title. This is the Penguin Book of the Prose Poem from Boulder to Anne Carson. It is edited and compiled by Jeremy Noel-Tod. So this is a book all about the prose poem and how it has evolved over the last 150 years. I made a video quite a while ago now, so it may be a little out of date, about prose poetry, why I love it, and recommendations for collections you may want to check out. I'll link that in the description box down below. One of my writing workshops is also focused on prose poetry, which I'll also link in the description box down below. So this is just an anthology, just an anthology. It is an anthology of prose poetry, and I'm sure that I'm going to discover some new writers in there, which is always exciting. Speaking of prose poetry, I was sent a review copy of The Last Orgasm by Nin Andrews, who wrote one of my favourite prose poetry collections of all time called Why God is a Woman. So this is her latest, and I will be reading this very soon, and I will report back with my thoughts. I bought this book here, which I am desperately biased about because it is by my best pal, Jean Mingus, who many of you also know because she also has a booktube channel. She's delightful. I love her. This is her introduction to Greek mythology. And I need this because I have never really got to grips with the basics of Greek mythology. There are several myths that I know, but I kind of have researched them here and there when I need to understand how they relate to fairy tales. I have never specifically researched the mythology in its own right. I have mostly, to be honest, relied on Jean to answer questions about Greek mythology for me. So I'm so grateful that she's now put all of that into a book so that I can consume it and have it locked within my brain. So thank you, Jean. This is also beautifully, perfectly illustrated by Katie Ponder. Let me find you. You know what, I'm not going to find one page because it's also beautiful. I'll do a cutaway here so you can see several pages and just how glorious it is. I've just realised that these two books kind of go together. Look at this, how delightful. This is a non-fiction book about mushrooms. Look at this cover, it's so cool. This is called Entangled Life, How Fungi Make... Do you say fungi or fungi? Fungi. Fungi, fungi. I don't know, I feel like I say both at different times. Okay, anyway, Entangled Life, How Fungi Make Our Worlds, Change Our Minds and Shape Our Futures. So this is all about how fungi communicate with each other, how they blossom, how they help create the wood wide web and all of the magical, fabulous things that they do. And I'm sure that it's also going to be related to folklore, which is the primary reason why I bought it. I just think it sounds really interesting. And this one also has mushrooms on the cover, but this is a fiction. This is Flowers of Mold by Seong-Nan, and it is translated from the Korean by Janet Hong. It says, on the surface, Ha Seong-Nan's stories seem pleasant enough, yet there's something disturbing just below the surface, ready to permanently disrupt the characters' lives. A woman meets her next door neighbour and loans her a spatula, then starts suffering horrific gaps in her memory. A man, feeling jilted by an unrequited love, becomes obsessed with sorting through his neighbour's garbage in the belief that will teach him how to better relate to people. A landlord decides to raise the rent and his tenants hatch a plan to kill him. Excellent. Wonderful. Love this. So yeah, I bought this for Women in Translation Month, but it's arrived just now, so I will probably get to it after this month, but you know, who knows? We still have a few days. I was sent this review copy, which I believe to be steeped in Welsh folklore. So this is On a Dark Night with Enough Wind by Lilla Pennant. And it says, how do people survive in the lonely cottages on the Welsh hilltops? Lilla Pennant sets out to uncover and retell the true stories of the people of a village and a strange hill slope community in the Clwydian Hills. Life was tough, but for some, it was also a wild adventure. Very intrigued. And finally, I bought this non-fiction book here, which is The Radium Girls by Kate Moore. I've been hearing so many amazing things about this. So this is about women who worked in radium factories during World War I. It says, as the First World War spread across the world, young American women flocked to work in factories, painting clocks, watches, and military dials with a special luminous substance made from radium. It was a fun job, lucrative and glamorous. The girls shone brightly in the dark, covered head to toe in dust from the paint. However, as the years passed, the women began to suffer from mysterious and crippling illnesses. It turned out that the very thing that had made them feel alive, their work, was slowly killing them. The radium was poisonous. Their employers denied all responsibility, but these courageous women, in the face of unimaginable suffering, refused to accept their fate quietly and instead became determined to fight for justice. Drawing on previously unpublished diaries, letters and interviews, The Radium Girls is an intimate narrative of an unforgettable true story. It is the powerful tale of a group of ordinary women from the Roaring Twenties who themselves learned how to roar. So those are all of the books that I have bought recently or been sent for review. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, if you haven't yet voted on my September reading ridiculousness, then please do head over to my Instagram. If you have any questions for Michel about his latest book, or any of his previous books, actually, you can leave them here or you can email them to me and we will answer them in the video that we film. And yeah, let me know if you're interested in reading any of these, because I would love to know. I hope you're all having a good Sunday and I'll speak to you very soon. Lots of love. Bye.